I returned to the king bedroom, where I'd been when the whole grisly affair started. I thought it might give me a chance to think by myself, but alas, it was not to be. The curtains were drawn back, and a particularly pernicious twerp of a girl was leaning halfway out the window. After what had already happened, it would be such a shame were she to slip and go out all the way. Young girls these days really ought to be more careful. My dear little girl, just what are you doing? You're liable to go for quite the little tumble if you keep leaning out the window like that.
I'm trying to get a decent signal.
Oh, for your phone? Yes, it does seem like you young people just can't get by without them these days.
I don't care about the phone. I want network access.
Whatever for.
So I can hack the phone company records and figure out who called this house.
You can do that, can you?
Yep. Look, I hate people staring over my shoulder when I'm working. Can't you go find a fainting couch and a bottle of smelling salts or something?
So, who was it then that called the house?
If I tell you, will it get you to leave me alone?
My dear girl, this predicament affects all of us. If you found out anything that might be in the least helpful, surely it's in all of our interests for you to share it.
I'll take that as a yes. Fine. The number is 11223344. It's a business number registered to Oxley Accounting Services.
An accountant? Doesn't exactly sound like a social call, now does it?
Who knows? As far as I can tell, this Prince Titanico had some pretty weird friends.
You haven't tried contacting them then?
Nah, that'd mean talking to more weirdos. I'd rather try and hack into their private email or something and see what's up.
I'll leave you to it, my dear. So, your sweet little friend. She can be quite the tease, it seems. I was just talking to her earlier, and she let it drop that this wasn't her first murder case.
You must think you're very clever for worming that out of her. You know, I bet you're one of those people who think they're a lot smarter than they really are, aren't you?
My dear Leah, something like that is not exactly the wisest thing to say when you're perched precariously on the edge of a window. It's ever so fortunate that I'm in a good mood today.
A good mood? Here, now. How could... No, never mind. I forgot who I was talking to.
In any case, my dear, Miss Therese said the only other one here who was involved in that case was you. No matter how smart I might or might not think I am, surely you can't blame me for wondering whether it might be relevant to our current predicament.
Well, it's not. Not directly, anyway.
Aha! Not directly. Now we're getting somewhere.
Look, I don't want to talk about it, and I'm sure Sherry said the same thing. It was bad. For everyone, but especially for her. The truth she learned that day, she's never going to forget. And she definitely doesn't need you dredging it all up.
There's no need to tell me, darling. She learned the truth about her family, didn't she? That not all that lovely money of theirs was obtained through, how shall we say, completely honest business. It's plain as day, really. Insufferably idealistic young socialite comes into her fortune and starts throwing it at every charitable cause she can find out of guilt. Oh yes, I know her type well enough.
We learned that her family had been mixed up with some really bad people. No, more than just bad. With true evil.
And so it turns out her life of wealth and comfort was built on the blood of innocence. So very tragic for her, I'm sure.
She just wants to make up for it all. Make it all right again. Sometimes I worry she thinks she can carry the weight of the whole world. She pushes herself hard enough.
Yes, I did say insufferably idealistic, didn't I?
If by that you mean a better person than you'll ever be, then yeah, that's spot on. She just needs someone to watch her back. That's all.
And let me guess, you do whatever it takes to keep your dear little friend safe, wouldn't you?
Whatever it takes.
My, such ardor, such resolve. Remind me never to get on your bad side, darling.
Too late.
So your friend Miss Cherise, just how long had she been seeing our dear departed host?
Not that long, but he seemed pretty intense about it. Nighttime river cruises, the opera, the theater, you name it.
Ah, swept off her feet into a whirlwind romance with a dark and mysterious dashing older man. Your friend must have been positively giddy with excitement.
Something like that, yeah.
Oh, it must have been so hard for you, being left out of all that and resigned to watching from the sidelines.
Yeah, right. That kind of high society stuff isn't really my thing.
No, I suppose not.
Come to think of it, Wizard Boy sometimes looked a little pouty at being left out, though.
Did he really? How do you know? Did he tell you so?
No, nothing like that. Just an impression I got. Not really my business anyway. As long as Sherry's happy, I'm happy. That's all that matters.
I see. So, was she happy?
It was what she wanted. So yeah.
And try though you might, you just can't bring yourself to sound happy about that. My, how curious.
Look, if you're gonna pry any further, you'd better go get yourself a crowbar, don't you think?
Now, Miss Leah, was it? I'm afraid I just don't know very much about you. Who are you exactly?
I'm Sherry's friend.
I rather gathered that much. But, my dear girl, what with her enormous fortune, social connections, and nauseatingly innocent good looks, I'd imagine the list of people who'd like to be friends with Miss Cherise is rather long. What's special about you?
Fine. My parents were rich too. They're in the tech business. Sherry and I went to private school together. I helped her with math, she helped me be a better person. Fair trade, I hope.
You say were. Have your parents passed away as well?
No, we just don't get along too well right now.
Ah, and your dear old fabulously wealthy school friend took you in. How sweet of her.
I see where you're going with this. And no, I'm not financially dependent on Cherise. Sure, I live with her, but I've got a nice little fund of my own. So I've got no motive to bump off a boyfriend out of fear that he'll kick me out of the house or something like that.
Oh my, perish the thought. I'd never dream of suggesting such a thing.
No, I'm sure you've got much nastier things to save for your dreams.
The elaborate carvings on the wooden bedpost intrigued me. Spirits and demons of all sorts circled and surrounded any lord who might sleep in this bed. Was this preferable, I wondered, than sleeping in the arms of Lamika Lee? I suppose I could dial a number here. if I knew of one worth calling. Oxley Accounting Offices. That's what that Leah girl had said. Of course, she could have just been making it up to get rid of me. I'd certainly do the same to her. But...
Oxley Accounting Offices, Oxley speaking. Are you a new or pre-existing client?
To tell you the truth, I'm not really sure.
I see. That doesn't bode well for the organizational state of your paperwork.
Actually, I'm calling on behalf of a friend.
In that case, please be advised then that I will only be able to answer the most basic of queries without certified written permission from your associate, or friend, as you call them.
Sadly, I fear my friend's signature would be difficult to obtain at the moment, but I think basic queries will do well enough for now. Might you happen to know a man called Prince Titanico?
I am familiar with that name, yes. In fact, I was hoping I might speak to him. Is he there?
I'm afraid that really won't be possible.
Very well. In that case, please inform him I will continue to try to contact him at regular intervals.
Oh, you can try. Can you tell me, was Prince Titanico a client of your office?
In the absence of written consent, I am not authorized to provide that information.
But if you're trying to contact him, you must have some kind of business relation with him.
In the absence of written consent, I am not authorized to provide that information.
You can be just insufferably obstinate, can't you?
If by that you mean thoroughly professional, then yes.
Same thing, really. Now, Miss Oxley, was it? You sound like a very organized person. Can you tell me if you called this number earlier this evening?
Yes, I log all of my calls, both incoming and outgoing. And yes, I did call this number at 8:32 p.m. Sharp, of course.
Yes, 8:30. That sounds about right. Wait a minute. Isn't that rather late for an accounting office to still be open?
An 8-hour business day is standard in many sectors, but we take our work very seriously here at Oxley Accounting. Besides which, it was requested that I call at precisely that time.
Requested? How odd. Requested by whom?
In the absence of written consent, I am not authorized to provide that information.
Oh, of course you're not. How silly of me. Can you at least tell me if you spoke to anyone when you called?
Yes, the call was answered. I asked to speak with a particular individual and was told to wait.
And you did wait then?
For 4 minutes and 36 seconds, yes.
And after such an oddly specific yet arbitrary amount of time, you hung up?
Certainly not. Someone picked up, I introduced myself again, and then they hung up.
How rude. To think anyone could hang up on such an obviously charming personality as yours. Miss Oxley, I'm not entirely sure how to tell you this, but Prince Titanico is dead.
I see. That will definitely have some ramifications for my paperwork.
Not only that, but it seems rather likely that he was killed precisely when he came to answer your phone call.
Noted. I suppose that explains why he hung up so abruptly and didn't call back.
Yes, didn't you find that a little bit odd at the time?
Not really. For certain types of business, it's quite common to encounter some reluctance on behalf of the other party.
But hang on, I thought the prince was your client. Why would he be reluctant to speak with his own accountant?
Accounting is not the only service we provide at our office. We also perform audits, credit checks, and financial investigations of various sorts.
Of course, now it makes sense. The prince was being audited, wasn't he?
In the absence of written consent, I am not authorized to provide that information.
It's quite all right, dearie. I can connect the dots myself. You've been ever so helpful, in spite of yourself, really.
You are welcome to log your opinion of our interaction on our office's website feedback form. Now, exactly who was I speaking with again? Are you with the police?
No. They're on their way. My name's Misfortune. I'm one of the guests.
I'm quite sure that name has been in my files before. Something to do with a possible inheritance tax irregularity from a deceased spouse? Let me check.
That won't be necessary. Besides, the wiring is a bit dodgy in this place. The phone could go out at any moment. Ta-ta then! So, that Klops fellow, he was the prince's valet. Have I got that right?
Yes, that's right. Mr. Tor is the butler, but today's his day out.
So is he, a good valet then? I only ask because I just found him skulking about in the brush outside, and I wasn't really sure if that was the sort of things valets usually do.
Was he now? Well, I can't say I know terribly much about the exact duties of my dear friend's household staff, but I know he did some gardening from time to time.
Indeed, gardening. I believe he said something along those lines as well.
Yes, well, he was quite good at whacking weeds, or so I heard.
I suppose that sounds about right. If I were a weed, or really, even if I wasn't, I wouldn't want to get whacked by him either. Was he happy with his work? Do you know?
Come to think of it, he did seem a bit jealous of Mr. Tor's position from time to time.
No doubt being a butler pays better than a mere valet. Though I'm not sure how either stacks up against a grand magus.
Need I remind you, Misfortune, I'm not, was not, an employee of the prince's household.
But of course, how silly of me. So back to Mr. Klops then. Do you know if he had issues with money? Might he badly have needed a raise?
Really couldn't say. Perhaps someone on the staff did, though. I did sometimes hear Mr. Tor complain about small valuables going missing.
So very interesting. You've been a great help, my dear Horatio.
It is my pleasure to be of service.
Horatio, my dear, I'm so sorry, but I'm afraid you've got some explaining to do.
Now, Misfortune, I already told you, a magician.
Yes, never reveals his secrets and all that. Why don't we just skip to the part where you tell me what this is all about?
Where did you find that?
In the breaker room, darling. Right where you left it.
Oh.
Here's the part where you start talking then.
Well, you're right. I put it there. It was Titanico's idea. He thought the whole blackout business would add some drama to the evening.
An excuse to startle us. Especially poor little Miss Cherise. So there was nothing wrong with the wiring then?
Nothing at all. That's why he had to make sure to send me to deal with it.
So, you were the only other one who knew about this little special effect then?
Yes, I do believe so. I did say that the prince often took me into his confidence, didn't I?
Yes, several times, I think.
Well, you won't tell anyone else, will you? As you can see, it had nothing to do with the murder.
It does seem that way, I suppose. At least, for now. Horatio, dear, are you certain you won't tell me about this special announcement that the prince was going to make?
Of course. My lips are sealed.
Oh, ho-hum. Then I suppose I'll just have to tell you about it.
You... what?
It had to do with this, didn't it?
Alakazam, how did you get that?
I rather wish I knew that myself. But for now, I think it's best to stay on track while the wizard is still wonderstruck. Tut-tut, my dear. Magicians aren't the only ones who get to keep secrets. The important thing is what the prince planned to do with it. It was his, wasn't it?
Well, yes. I mean, it was. Well, it wasn't exactly for him, you see, yet... oh dear.
No need to worry, darling. I already know exactly what it was for. It's simple, really. He was going to propose to Charisse.
And what makes you say that?
Oh, come now, my dear. It doesn't take a fortune teller to see that he'd been doing everything in his power to sweep her off her feet. Add to that a diamond ring sized for slender little fingers, and the story all but writes itself.
It is true that he was quite, taken with her, yes. I mean, who wouldn't be, really?
Oh, yes. Sweet, demure, pliable, and very, very rich. Just the type for the prince, I'm sure.
You're not going to tell Miss Charisse about this, are you? Surely it would only make things even harder for her.
No, at least not yet. Like I said, sometimes I like to have a secret or two up my sleeve myself. But confirming that I was right about the prince's intent certainly does paint this mystery in a whole new light.